cold at the touch, dead in the eyes, no signs of life no more. I put your love under the knife. Leave me to die here all alone. No signs of life no more, no. A crying dove may never fly. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Just let me go, it's only right. For all I know, it's only matter. It's calico, it's black and white. White, white, white. Black and white. Yeah. Black and white. Oh, 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 oh. Just black and white. Black and white.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Sunday GT3 Racing with the Sunday GT3 Masters here on Simracersworld TV. My name is Hasse Rømer, I'm here with Edward May, and I'm pretty quite certain that we're in for a really good time here. This is of course the continuation of what was fourth has been known, or it was what before was known as the Sunday GT3 World League, if I could coin that phrase. It's now the Sunday GT3 Masters, but apart from the name, not much has changed. Of course, we'll be missing Peter Mackay in the booth here, but Edward, there's few things in life I enjoy more than having you in the booth for these broadcasts. And what are your expectations for tonight's racing here at Imola?
Thank you very much, Hasse. Good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm really looking forward to being here for this entire season, and especially being here at Imola. It's a track that I'm very familiar with, and I'm sure you are as well, both of us actually. We're, in one sense or another, just here, weren't we, a few days ago on Wednesday for the Simracersworld BMW Trophy, and now we're here again for the GT3s, but this time more than just the BMW. We've got all sorts, like we can see here, the new Lamborghini Huracan GT3 car. That's something that's been recently introduced to iRacing, and it's kind of taken it by storm, isn't it? It's currently being driven by Matthew Forrest, who is top of the order, at least for now, in practice.
He very much is. It's looking strong. Fastest time set is a 1:42.5 at the moment, and just take a second to take you through the ins and outs of this series. We're following the VRS format, so a GT3 race, 45 minutes, a 50% fuel cap, which means that we will be having one mandatory fuel stop, and of course drivers are not going to be taking tires, and if they do, it's a mistake. We've got an hour's worth of practice coming into the session that's coming to an end now, which means we're coming into qualifying, and 20 minutes of that it is. 30 points for a win in this series, 27 for a second place, and thus it follows with 3-point gaps in between. We've got a point for the fastest race lap. We got 3 points for fastest lap and qualifying, 2 points for second, and a point for third as well. So, and an incident limit, by the way, of 20 for a race. That should be about it. Imola, indeed, a track that is not necessarily easy to race at. It's really a driver's track. It's got it all, and it's often also hard to find a perfect compromise setup-wise for this track. But as you said before, Edward, very familiar you are indeed. A victor in recent times in the BMW here. And why don't we hop on here with Alfredo Trigorici and have a look at the lap here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not entirely sure what the gearings would be or how you'd take the corners in a Ferrari. Obviously, I was driving the BMW, but it seems about the same. So we're going to go up now over the crest into Variante Alta, staying right on the left-hand side, braking just before the 50-meter board. Hard on the brakes, so you can really take the curb on the start there, trail the brakes through, get on the power nice and early. You don't want to wash out too much there on the exit, otherwise you will find yourself with a slowdown. I think my internet has decided to have a bit of a mare here, Hasse.
Oh, what a lovely time indeed. But the two Verazzas, I can take over.
I'm back in actually now. So.
Oh, perfect. Oh, and somebody's had a bit of a spinner there. It is a difficult exit.
BMW, yeah, it's very hard to get on the exit of that corner, Hasse, because you want to really get over onto the outside, maximise the corner, but you get a bit of a bump, and now we're going to come across the start-finish line and run you down into the first chicane, the Tamburello chicane, hard onto the brakes, using that little access road on the right-hand side as a marker onto second gear, then up third gear, fourth gear, just as you come across the apex onto the exit. You can use all of that little green stuff on the outside before you get onto the grass. Villeneuve as well, trail it through the corner, down into third, keep it in third for this next one. Did very well there actually to turn in at the right point, because it does lure you in to turn in early, then into Tosa. First gear actually in these cars, powering it out, getting a little bit of wheel spin, a little bit of grass as well. following. Now you can see a few cars up in front trying to get out of the way as we come over to the tallest part of the circuit. Piratella trailing it in. He's run a little bit wide there. That's going to cost him a substantial amount of time because you've got the run down the hill as we see another car off the circuit into Aqua Minerale. You really want to try and have one single brake input. You want to be soft on the brakes in, hard as you come sort of get the car straightened out and then turning it up through Aqua Minerale up the hill. Didn't quite seem to pull off because we heard him get on the throttle midway through. It's difficult to do though because that corner, you're carrying so much speed in, you need to carry so much speed through to really get the lap time out of it.
Yeah, indeed, it's a track full of pitfalls, you'd say. Here as Dirk Reski finds the BMW twitchy on the brakes. And that's a thing with the BMW M4. It's a car that seems to be naturally geared a bit towards the understeery side of things and such. A lot of drivers are opting to run a relatively rear-biased brake bias with the BMW, simply in order to make it turn under braking. But if you go too hard on the brakes, and especially through the kink coming into Aqua Minerale, just where Matthew Forrest is coming in through now, and his Lamborghini seems very planted indeed. But since, as you just mentioned, you are ever so slightly braking because you cannot do the kink at full speed, and it's a very tricky one indeed, and it's so easy to lose it. If you go onto the AstroTurf there, you find that there is less grip than there is on the tarmac. It might not be catastrophical, but if you are heavy on the brakes while just giving it a bit of turn in there, it can very easily go wrong. Now, just having a look down the standings here, top 12 drivers within a second here, and interestingly so, last season we had a championship fight that went all the way to the line with Koen Mulder in the Ferrari. It is in third. It does have the number 1 on it now, which is fitting. Last year he was the number 3 Ferrari indeed, but he did take a very, very consistency-based championship win, always there to pick up points, and of course a few victories as well along the way, and that paved the way for his success. And third here in practice, Edward, it looks like he's going to be in a good position to continue the tones he's been playing for us over the last season.
Yeah, definitely. As we see now, Matthew Forrest still leading this practice session, and I've got to say, I do like his paint job now, the nice matte black. He looks very aggressive, and he looks like he's really going to put on a good charge in this championship. If he makes all the rounds, he's certainly going to keep Koen Mulder very honest, isn't he? As we now have a look through the rest of the field, we've got an Audi here, Niels Cornelisi here, the privateer driver in the number 14 car, just in 12th place. And the Audi used to be the car that was really the top dog, wasn't it? You had to say that if you wanted to win, you had to really be in the Audi, but not so much anymore. It's with the addition of cars like the Lamborghini with similar traits to the Audi, but a little bit more stable. That's started to come to the forefront a bit more.
Yeah, indeed, and it's always going to be changing seas, if you will, with the BOPs that seem to swing back and forward as the seasons come and go. But indeed, the Audi R8 has been one of the very most competitive GT3s for quite a while, and still up there as well. But it is a car that's also found itself becoming friendlier with the addition of the latest tire model as well. It is, of course, still with a bit of its old characteristics, but a lot easier to drive. That was my first impression, and a lasting impression when trying it out after a Audi R8 hiatus of about 6 months. Oh, someone has had a problem here as we're going into qualifying. We're just going to see here Jack Werrell has had a bit of an off track. Oh, we're not going to be able to see that. Anyway, the session does spring over, and we are now 15 minutes it is of qualifying, so a slight reduction of the qualifying session length. We were running 20 minutes last season, a little bit long. This is going to be more congested, than it's going to leave drivers less space to try and wait it out. 15 minutes might seem like a long time when you're used to 8 minutes and 2 laps for official iRacing events or races, but it's going to be quite hectic indeed, I believe here. 39 cars on the grid, if I'm not completely mistaken, for tonight's race. And a total of 47 signups. So a congested session and a congested Imola it's going to be for qualifying here.
Yeah, definitely. You would expect, though, to see the likes of, well, Cohen Mulder up the top, won't we? The championship, well, the reigning champion last time out. We're seeing Martin de Jong as well, the Holy Cow racing driver. He was putting in some rather competitive lap times earlier on in the session as well. So keep your eyes out for the Holy Cow racing driver. And it's a nice livery, isn't it? These Holy Cow racing drivers have the nice black mixing with the orange and blue, and I think there's a little bit of green there as well. So yeah, it really does blend together very nicely indeed.
This is one of those liveries that really stand out, I think, when you see it, but it's an absolute stunner, I think, and I mentioned it before. We've seen them in some of the other series that we're broadcasting here. And the Holy Cow Racing, all of a sudden, with a car that's certainly up there when it comes to the looks here. Let's see how they can make it run in qualifying. And I think qualifying is going to be of quite a big importance here for two reasons. First of all, of course, Imola, not the easiest track to overtake on, even in these GT3 machines that, of course, suffer quite a bit less under the effects of dirty air and are such more reliant on their mechanical grip than, for instance, a Formula 1 car. But still, it's difficult to race here. You're going to find yourself losing a lot of time from going too wide through corners if you really go scrapping for it. So that's worth noting, that's worth thinking about. And we're going to see just what kind of a race is going to be. Also, of course, the first couple of laps, we'll expect them to be hectic, to say the least. And we saw that as well on Wednesday, didn't we, Edward, in the SRW BMW trophy that was here as well?
Yeah, definitely. It's all about going into turn one nice and safely, although this time it doesn't have a reverse grid, so we should be able to see the cars get through turn one nice and clean. Mariano Lazarte,
Lazarte, I think, yeah.
Lazarte, I think that's about right, is currently on pole position, but these are just the outlaps coming in. So we're going to follow Luke Schneider now. This is going to be his first flying lap in the BMW. Look at how it just bounces all over the curbs there at Variante Alta. It's a nice, stable car. You can really bound over the curbs at certain areas of the circuit without too much of a bother. Then hard onto the brakes, trailing it through into the first reverse, and then the second one shifting up early into third gear to stop the wheel spin coming through. Could get a little bit wider out, but still a very good exit nonetheless. That powers him all the way down the start straight Variante Bassa. And Luke Schneider is currently third place, still not quite able to get himself up the order. And look who is on top of the timing screens right now, Matthew Forrest.
Yeah, reclaiming what was his in practice with an identical lap time here, Edward. That's pretty interesting here, 1:42.49, which is exactly what he put in that practice session before. So that points towards quite a bit of consistency. We haven't really seen any real moments for Matthew here, as there are a few things that we should actually get onto here while we can. We're rounding the coming into the first 5 minutes of qualifying. Anyway, so we have 14 rounds of racing this season. They'll be split all over the year and all the way into the winter of 2021 indeed. We got 7 rounds that are free setup, and this is one of them, so this is the first free setup round, but we also have 7 rounds that are fixed setup. I think that is baseline indeed, so that's going to be quite interesting to see if we can see a difference from the free setup rounds to the fixed setup rounds, from driver to driver, and from car to car, and who just responds the best to that. It's going to be an interesting one indeed to follow. As Matthew Forrest clears another lap here. Sorry, I put go on.
as you mentioned that, I wonder how they're going to do the fixed setup, because usually fixed setup you'd only have one car in one class, but they've got 7 cars in this GT3 class, all to make separate fixed setups for. So I don't know if they go making them themselves or if they use some of the iRacing presets. Obviously, you got iRacing high downforce, low downforce, medium downforce, sprint and endurance sets available to you now. And I wonder if they're going to try and use those across the cars. And from what I can remember, that you do have to make a few tweaks in certain cars to still get the performance out. So, say for example, in this car that we're following now, the Lamborghini, you find that you want to get the brake master cylinders both at the same level. I think the rear brakes are a little bit too strong on that car, so you shift it back forwards, the balance, and that gets you quicker. So we might find people like Matthew Forrest struggling a little bit onto brakes and finding the car wanting to constantly swap ends.
It's going to be an interesting thing to follow, that very aspect of things. Here's Robert van den Heuvel, or Rob the Lobster, if you will, the series organizer, as well as a driver for Holy Cow Racing, currently 8th place in his McLaren. Also a good-looking car, but finds the bumps of the Variante Alta a little bit too much to handle. And you can see just how that was upset so easily. Here, Dirk Reski, who I believe is someone you race with on track as well in the SRW BMW trophy. So he'll be well familiar with just how it is to drive Imola in that BMW M4 GT3 prototype. And currently 7th on the grid, so showing just that as well. Pete Plastow was up there last season. He's got a new virtual racing compound livery for the 312 Ferrari. Still very good looking indeed. And I think Pete was quite on the unlucky side of things last season. He actually, I think, was on the losing end in the championship in the end of things, because of losing out on a couple of rounds and simply missing them due to work commitments on the side, which not much can really be said about it, except for the fact that it's darn bad luck. We're hoping for Pete Plastow to be in there every single race, and if he is, I wouldn't be surprised to see him up there at the end of this series, just around halfway through qualifying here, Edward. And looking at the grid order here, the top 10, it's a diverse field. We've got 7 different cars, but a lot of Ferraris there at the top of the field.
Yeah, definitely the Ferrari seems to be a car that, at least very recently as well with the TAR model, has become kind of the more stable machine. It's filling the niche that, say, previously was held by the Mercedes just by being nice and stable, whereas the recent changes have actually made the Mercedes a little bit less driver friendly. As we see 2 cars having a moment almost at the same time but at different areas of the track there at the Variante Alta. So we're seeing here Doug Brinksma just getting on the throttle a little bit too early, has a snap on, tries to hold it, but then it gets back on him and spins him around. And then further back, I think there was an orange Ferrari having a little bit of a spin. Here we go, Sander Kaffer now. Oh, the Dutch orange not giving him the Dutch courage he needed to get through that corner nice and safely, though, did it? He still lost the rear just over the first bump and then keeps out of the way of all other cars on fastest on fast laps, shall we say. But we're actually only got, what, just over 5 minutes remaining in this session, and currently Matthew Forrest is ahead, but not having an easy time of things. He's got the likes of Nick McLaughlin and Martin de Jong, closing up to him with their lap times.
Yeah, indeed, and let's see if anyone can pull out that golden lap in the final 5 minutes of qualifying. Here's Valdir Soares Jr., the Brazilian, who was leading for a long, long way, actually, of last season's racing, and also just getting into a string of bad luck towards the end of the season seemed to cost him very dearly in the fight for the championship. Valdir doesn't really seem to me as a qualifying specialist in any way, but do keep your eyes out for him as soon as the race gets underway. He's been very, very good in the past and would certainly be one to watch. And a nice mix of known faces from last season, returnees. you could say, and a few fresh ones as well. Actually, quite a few fresh ones. And we have, from the organizers, received a bit of info, at least on some of the drivers. We'll do our best to remember to give you some of that info as the series goes on. Of course, we shall also do our best not to spill it all at once. We shall try to walk that line, that difficult line, saying enough but not too much.
Yeah, exactly. Try and give some little tantalizing bits here and there, as Alessio Coniglio in the GTWR team is in 28th place, but further up, Valdir Suarez, he's getting a nice push on now. Look at how close he is to Matthew Forrest, just under a tenth of a second that separates them in terms of qualifying pace, but he did get held up a little bit through Villeneuve, so I don't think Valdir will be making any improvements this time around, and will have to take another stab at it.
Yeah, indeed, and just shows the pace of Valdir Suarez. Still the Lamborghini of Matthew Forrest in the lead of the session, and having been so for quite some time. Actually, I'm surprised to see that we don't have more Lamborghinis, actually. So far I can spot 3. There might be more signups that haven't been racing yet, or that haven't joined us yet, that will be racing the Lamborghini. But surprised to see that the new cars aren't more popular as such. But of course, a lot of drivers wishing to be competitive, and as we can see on the top 10, there is a lot of Ferraris up there indeed. So a lot of driver choices towards car choices, if you will tend to go towards the car that is favored by the BOP at the moment, won't it?
Yeah, definitely, and the BOP is usually quite fair and quite balanced in all of these classes. The biggest gaps you'd expect to see between them is roughly about, say, 3/10 here and there between the fastest car and the slowest car, so it isn't too drastic, and a good driver can quite easily manage to find that time with a few setup tweaks here and there, even just by altering the driving style to better suit the car. Meanwhile, though, Jose Coutinho now in the Audi, as we mentioned, what has been widely considered the strongest car, at least recently in iRacing, not seeming to carry any favour now, because at the moment it's all at the top of the order, the Ferraris and the Lamborghinis. But meanwhile, having a look at Emanuele Lucioli, I think. That looks Lucioli.
But look at
and
this.
aged.
Look at this car. I'm getting tasty vibes here. This is looking grand indeed. A beautifully designed BMW. They've incorporating a little bit of dazzle camo, but in a beautiful paint scheme indeed. We saw him earlier as well, Alfredo Tricorici, a returnee from last season as well. A driver who we should expect to see up there, at least on the tracks where he is strong, because he certainly both can and I think will be up there as well. Here is another Argentinian, the Virtua Racing top man at the moment. Another Ferrari in the top 10 here, 4th fastest it is for the 238 machine. And we're well into the final minute of qualifying now, Edward. It's all coming to an end here.
Yeah, definitely. It's really closing up now. Matthew Forrest has got this lap only to try and extend his lead and get a comfortable margin up at the front. Valdir Suarez is really putting the pressure on, a tenth of a separating between first and second. Matthew Forrest, though, he's under a lot of pressure, actually, from the BMW right behind him. So he's going to maybe actually have to get out of the way and not make any improvement on his lap time. So now we're going to see he's in that BMW, because he's got some very good pace at the moment if he's trying to get ahead. But he runs a little bit wide. That's going to be an off track, actually, for the BMW up in front. So that's not going to be an improvement. And we find Timo Paya having a moment there through the Villeneuve chicane. Just took a little bit too much into the corner. Got over the anti-cuts there on the left-hand side, and that spat him all the way around. Valdez Suarez, though, he's on a flying lap. We're going to see exactly what he can do now. I'm going to look. I can't see what his micro sectors are looking like, so we're just going to have to follow, I think, him through the final couple of corners. Got a very good run, though, through the chicane. Judged it to perfection. Didn't seem to run wide at all. Kept it within the limits of iRacing. How much speed is he going to carry through here as well? Carrying plenty of speed through the first reverse, second reverse, getting onto power nice and early. Up through the gears now and up towards the start-finish line. Where will this put Valdez Suarez Jr.? Is it going to be a last-minute improvement to pole position? Or is it going to be... No, it's not quite enough for Valdez Suarez. He didn't get the lap time out of it, and he's going to be starting on the front row of the grid, but alongside Matthew Forrest, who will be starting on pole position. Cody Mulder has come across the line and not improved. This is not a flying lap because the checker flag was waved long ago, and he will be starting in 6th position.
But again, Kuhn is also one of these drivers who seem to be stronger when we get the race underway and he can deploy some of his racecraft. Nils Cornelis, I think, is still running, but I'm having a hard time imagining this to be a flying lap, a counting lap. It won't be. He's put his last lap in as well. That means he'll be in 15th place. So let's see here. We should have the grid order on screen for you all in a moment. And speaking about you all, a very warm welcome to all of you watching on YouTube, on our Facebook page, or indeed on Twitch. What a lovely thing it is to have you all along for more Sunday night GT3 racing. And it's great to see the cheering going on for a lot of different drivers in chat. Something that I really like to see. It gives you a nice little atmosphere out there. So keep it up. Support your man in chat, or woman, or whatever it is in between. We're modern day people here on Simracersworld TV, and the grid is on your screen. Matthew Forrest holds out on pole position in front of Valdez Suarez Jr., Martin de Jong, Mariano Lasarte, and Nick Mclaughlin there in 5th place. Cody Mulder, our reigning champion, takes 6th in front of Timothy Vanderbroek, Gaston Macaroni, Stephen Orrell in the vegan Mercedes for Holy Cow Racing in 9th, and Sander Kaffa, the privateer, in 10th place. Just outside top 10 and 11th is Luke Schneider and Pete Plastow. And then we got Dirk Reski, Alfredo Trigorici. That's a hard one to get out, isn't it? Trigorici, Nils Cornelis, and Savino Melillo in 16th place. Our commentary colleague, Jack Werrels, in 17th, just ahead of Robert van den Heuvel. Then Pedro Cladera, Dirk Brinksma. We've got Lee Tucker and Steven Kral ahead of Emanuele Lucioli and Sven Dalemans there, the number 9 car, in 24th place. We got Cody Stig, Gary Waldron, Chris Pio, still in the Ford GT, the sole Ford of the field, I'm afraid, but great to see still. Matthew Maddox is there ahead of Jose Godinho and Alessio Cornelio in 13th place. Then Turk Orkun Kolak. We've got Sandro Orsini and Dejan Pavicic, who apparently owns a 15,000, what I would believe 15,000 euro, I believe, sim rig. So immersion, it will be plentiful for him at least. You're speaking to a G29 owner, so I'm somewhat left field in that in that discussion.
You and me both, Hasse. You and me both.
The wheel of champions, it is, isn't
exactly,
it?
The wheel and the pedals of champions. G39. It's not served me wrong once whatsoever. It's managed to get a race win out of it recently as well, so it's a good little bit of kit. Now we're going to be going down, I think, to the start of the race as we find that the cars make their way. We can see the other drivers on the starting order being run through, and now we're going to get close to have a look at the front of the field and see where Matthew Forrest is going to stab on the loud pedal and get this race underway.
Yeah, indeed, it sounds like it could be just about now, and we're going to hop up to the head of the field. Oh, they're bunching up, and it's going to be a late start. It could be tricky indeed. And Suarez has gone early. Oh, and he's gone a little too early. And Matthew Forrest comes flying through. A little bit of a hectic start. A little bit of a tumbling start indeed. Let's see if it's going to have any implications further down the field. But it also seems like there is a decent spread on affairs here. Oh, Sander Kaffa takes a big trip to the beach. And he's going to be at the very back of affairs. And Stephen Orrell here, 8th place at the start of affairs. And I think, to the best of my abilities. Oh, as I was just about to say, we've had a clean start. It's been a problem here for Chris Pio and Dean Pavicic, well, as another spinner. And I'm afraid it's Dirk Brinksma. Let's see what happened to Chris Pio.
Oh, so they're all bunched up going into Villeneuve. He just has an incident there coming across the nose of the four. Actually, no, the BMW was the one that came across him there. But they were all just getting a bit crossed up and over each other because there was a slow Audi up in front, and all this Dirk Brinksma there just lose the rear of the car, gets a little bit of a tap for good measure around, and that's not where you want to be stopped, is it? Right on the exit of Villeneuve, because you've got so many cars barreling their way to you, and they would be trying to use that little bit of circuit to get that extra lap time going into Tosa. Meanwhile, though, Matthew Forrest leads the field through the final 2 corners. You're about to 1 and 2. And has got a margin of 0.8 of a second to Martin de Jong there in the Holy Car Racing car. Seeing all of the cars, though, look at how close they are. This is the first lap of the race, fighting for position everywhere you look. Jack Werrell there up in 17th place, and actually comes into the pit lane. So has he got his qualifying setup still on?
Yeah, it's a good question. We'll have to see what kind of pit length we're looking at here for Jack Werrell, but that's far from optimal. And on to lap 2 we go. And already a bit of spread here at the top of the field. Matthew Forrest with an impressive piece of race pace here ahead of Martin de Jong. Oh, and somebody spun in behind, and that's Timothy van der Broek. Timothy van der Broek in the BMW. Who, just goes too far on the outside, picks up the grass. It doesn't have any grip, and he just about manages not to touch the soft barrier on the other side of the track. That's going to help him out. And I'm afraid there's been a problem as well for Gaston Borri. And we're going to have a look at what's gone on for the Argentinian. But it's, let's just see here. It's going to be a better view. Oh, through Tamburello. A bit of a touch between the two Ferraris. And look at this livery as well. Very cartoony style. Very good looking as well. I like it.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, we're gonna. Oh look! Look at that! It does. It's a bit like a comic book strip, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
The nice little sort of bold lettering as well on the side rear fenders. Meanwhile, though, coming up and seeing Kurt Mulder there, he's actually under pressure now from Luke Schneider, the Holy Car Racer driver, and he's actually gonna get out of the way. Maybe he has a slowdown that he picked up from the chicane because he's getting really out of the way and slowing down massively. Meanwhile, fastest lap of the race so far for Matthew Forrest. He's extending his gaps now to just over a second to Martin de Jong up in front. Stephen Orrell then in the vegan Mercedes trying to get through turn 1 and 2 and get a good run up to the cars in front, but he's still a second off of Gaston Macaroni. And contact there. Chicarici down the inside of, who was that? Was that Lee Tucker perhaps getting spun around?
I think that's Lee Tucker indeed, and we're going to slow things down for you just to see what's going on there. It seems...
He seems like he's outbroken himself there.
Just ever so slightly, but it doesn't really go wide in the turn. So you'd have to think, could Lee Tucker have turned in just a little bit later? It is hard to have that track awareness when running in the sim. Oh, Koen Mulder! Our reigning champion! And he's had a double incident here. Let's see. Oh. That's quite the spinner. And of course the car's gonna be okay, it seems, but he's lost a lot of positions. And that is not an optimal way to start your championship defense.
Just behind him as well, he's got Pedro Marion Caldera there, the Holy Car Racing driver, up 3 positions, but he's got plenty of drivers closer as well. Cody Stig as well, 2 Mercedes going to be battling wheel to wheel here, and they've got Matthew Maddox actually close for company just behind as well. So this is a fight going on for 16th place just behind Cohen Mulder here that's starting to hot up just a little bit. And look at that livery for Matthew Maddox. Oh, you won't miss him, will you? You certainly see him no matter where you go. A nice, lovely, iridescent rainbow machine there. Closing up to Cody Stig up in front of the Holy Cow Racing Mercedes. It's got a nice, actually, satin finish to it as well. Nice satin blue, looking very nice indeed. Oh, a bit of a bump though over the curbs. That's going to hurt Matthew Maddox's run out of here into Villeneuve, and he's not able to close up. Meanwhile, there's battling up in front. Luke Schneider. He's got Gaston Macaroni or Maceroni there for company. I'm sure Gaston will tell us which way around it is. Gaston's actually going to have the inside line there. Oh, a bit of a twitch though from Luke Schneider, who almost came across the nose here. I think realised he had a bit of a twitch, backed out of it, but still kept the position.
Yeah, as we go on board with Stephen Orrell there in the 68 vegan Mercedes. Oh, the BMW goes wide. They make that looks like a bit of a netcode to me. Orrell holds off, manages not to pick up the other car in the situation there. Let's see here on board with Luke Schneider.
Ooh,
that's not going to tell us. He gets out there. That looks like a netcode to me because they weren't that close to one another. At least not on my screen, which is of course what you'll be seeing. But looked like a very slight netcode that caused the contact. And I don't think it would necessarily have been so without that. I'm sorry, Edward.
So what happened there, I think, was when we were on board, we heard a bit of a contact from behind. And I think that was what sent Dirk off into the off of the corner that he had to try and get back on for. So we're going to have a look.
Oh, yeah,
yes, he
gets
to smack up the rear there. And I think Luke Schneider is still coming down the order even further now. So he's had a second. Or is that him going into the pits now? I think he's actually gone into pit lane.
He's had another one, I'm afraid.
Oh, and another Ferrari.
That's Cohen Mulder, and Luke Schneider will certainly not be happy with that. He's all the way down in 19th place. He was fighting for a top 5 position at the time of his incident before. That's very unlucky indeed here. Matthew Forrest still trying to hold off Martin Young. He's built up a 1.3 second advantage. In behind, it's a close 3-way fight between the 3 Ferraris of Valde Suarez. It's Canadian Nick Mclaughlin, and it's Mariano Lasarte as well there in the comic strip Ferrari, if you will, for Virtua Racing. And I like to say a nice, tightly wound little group here, but no one within complete striking distance here, as we've got the anime Mercedes returning as well from last season, and Pedro Cladera is knocking on the door of Stephen Kral up ahead in the Ferrari. He's trying to see if he can make his way through. It's not being there's no success so far, but he'll keep on trying. He's in 14th place at the moment.
Look at that, the nice, lovely anime Mercedes, based off of actually, I think, the Good Smile racing machine that was run at, might have been one of the Suzuka 12 hours, or maybe even the Spa 24, and he's going to try and have a look down the inside now. Opportunistic move, taking advantage of Stephen Kral's little mistake there to great effect. We're going to see again just exactly how you can see the brake disc glowing, and just the Ferrari seemingly runs wide on the first of the 2 left-handers, opens the door up wide for Petro just to sweep on by. So the Miku Mercedes, as it's been affectionately called, doing a very good job here to get through the field and now lead this long train up in 13th place.
Oh, yeah, indeed here. Oh, Lee Tucker. Oh, he's a long way off track with the Apex Tech 32 Lambo. I'm afraid. Let's see if we can have another look at that. The event viewer kept on ticking down for me. Here it is, Lee Tucker. Oh, he gets hit by the BMW, picks up the grass in the braking zone, loses the tail. And Lee Tucker, the innocent victim in that situation, nothing he could have done differently whatsoever. And that is such a bummer indeed. Oh, look at the Lambo of Matthew Maddox having a look into the kink before Aqua Minerale. That's certainly not a place you'd usually know. Oh, what's going on there behind? Oh my word! Cornelio who gets an absolute flyer off track. Let's see what happened here.
Oh, it's easily done. Just dips a wheel out onto the grass there, onto the brakes, and it's so easily done through that corner because you need to carry a lot of speed through to get the lap time there and keep the car nice and compressed before you get onto the brakes for the right-hander. It's just really easy. Just to misjudge it a little bit, open up the steering too early, try and get the wheel straight for the hard braking zone, and just do a little mistake like that. Meanwhile, though, Matthew Forrest, he has built a bit of a lead, but that's been slowly eaten up, actually. In fact, quite quickly eaten up by Martin de Jong. So I think Matthew Forrest has had a few mistakes recently, and that is allowing the driver of the Audi right behind him, Martin de Jong, closing up massively. Meanwhile, Mariano Lazarte is made a position, has he? Or is this... Yes, he's going to try and go around the outside here of Gaston Macaroni, but not quite able to pull it off. Instead has to... I think that's actually Nick McLaughlin, sorry, in the virtual racing compound car.
Yeah, we've seen that braking zone, hard braking zone indeed, into Villeneuve become the heart-breaking zone indeed of broken hearts. And Nick McLaughlin with a broken heart of his own here in Aqua Minerale. I think that's... Did he spin or did he... Just spun by...
he just got over the curb.
By himself. Yeah, lost it. Getting massively over the curbs there, and you could see the car bouncing. That's a position gained for the two Argentine drivers, Lazarte and Gaston. And behind the vegan Mercedes of Stephen Oro, doing a very, very good job as well, gaining position after position and climbing up through the orders alongside Dirk Reski, by the way, who's climbed up 6 positions over the opening 12.5 minutes or so. Oh, and Gaston Borri has had a problem here as well. And that's in the second of the comic strip virtual racing Ferraris. Edward, that inside curb there of Aqua Minerale is really playing some tricks on the field today.
Yeah, but it's another one where it's quite easy to do. You want to turn in early just so you're not running out wide and losing the time you can spend on the throttle, but it's just so easily done. Just to dip a wheel out onto those anti-cuts on the right-hand side, bounce the car up and over and spin you around. Either you're going to get spun around to the right or you're going to get jumped in the air and spat left, like what happened there to Gaston Borri.
Yeah, indeed, it's there are a few places here where you just cannot whatsoever cut onto those, and it's hardly even sausage curbs, but it is sort of there's these cut stubbers or whatever you want to call them that really offset the car. And I think, strangely enough, in the Variante Alta, you're actually sort of able to at least hit them at the right angle. Many of the other around the track, it's a complete no-go.
You can absolutely smash through those ones at Variante Alta if you've got the car set up in the way you want it. These BMWs can just bounce over them from what I was able to do, at least in my memory. You turn in nice and early for the first one, bounce over it, and then that opens up the second one to allow you to have a shallower, to sort of, I guess, a more wider line into it so you get on the throttle a little bit earlier. Meanwhile, we're going to look back from Oren Kolak there. Alessio right behind. He's putting some pressure on into the first Ravazza, but not actually sending a move just yet. And what has happened here for Matthew Forrest? He's plummeting down the order. This is into the first chicane. Oh, and it's the typical little spin that happens in these Lamborghinis, is that if you take too much speed into the corner, the rear will overtake the front and spin you around, and it's heartbreak for the driver that did start on pole position, was doing everything right up until that point in the race.
Oh, almost collects. I think that's I wonder who that is actually. And Martin de Jong had a bit of a problem as well. So I wonder if that was just a oh, that's coming in. Oh, and Villeneuve, he collects that. He collects that as well. The inside of the chicane takes a bump. And
Suarez is closed up though.
Indeed, and that's where he is. He's coming from out of nowhere, the Brazilian. And while everybody else starts to make those small mistakes here and there, Valdir Suarez Jr. is going to sneak in to see if he can pick up the points today. Look at this, Orkun Kulak, the Turk, in a very good-looking Ferrari as well, the number 4 machine here. Although I think he missed his apex ever so slightly, and here comes Cornelio, but the Italian not able to close in, at least not for now, but here comes. Should have a great run towards the Variante Alta, not normally a place you'd overtake, and he slots in behind as well. A little bit of a surprise to me that he didn't stay in, but he comes in the braking zone as well, and he's gonna get up past. And Orkun Kulak, gentlemanly driving from him in that situation. Here is Koen Mulder. Dirk Reski is in the pit lane, but you would expect it to be alright at this time to go in and stop for fuel. I'd expect the pit window to be open anyways. Koen Mulder's fought his way back up into 9th place by now, but he's got company of the fast and aged Emanuele Lucioli, who's gone up 13 positions and one of the high flyers of the field so far in the BMW, looking very, very strong indeed, as he's harrying the rear end of the reigning champion here.
Exactly. Look at this, though. We can see that Lucioli is trying to catch up, trying to find any way past. And this is, well, one of the 2 home races that he'll have this season, because we are, of course, going to Monza as well later on. We're going to see, though, if Emanuele can catch up and try and get up into 9th place. A top 10 certainly seems to be on the cards for the Italian driver. Meanwhile, this is what happened to Niels Cornelisi. A bit of a moment there for Villeneuve, and that's where you don't want to be. He's basically blocking the circuit there. He has to get out of the way very quickly. He does so eventually, but not until after a couple of cars have already passed him. And now we're seeing Emanuele Lucioli. Now he's all by himself, so he's no longer trying to put pressure on Koen Mulder. So what happened there? He's actually seemingly slow. Does he have a bit of damage, actually?
He's 4 seconds off of where he was before, but I cannot see him having had any off tracks or anything, so there's nothing to go by.
Ooh, it could have been a slowdown, because you can quite easily pick one up at Acqua Minerale if you take a little bit too much of the right-handed to begin with, the first of the sort of 2 rights. If you take it too much on the right, you can get a slowdown, and you can also get a slowdown if you go a little bit too far left, exiting Acqua Minerale when you come up the hill. So it could have been a slowdown, one of those 2 points there on the circuit, if it's not coming up on our event viewer.
Indeed, that could be the explanation. Indeed, here Pete Plastow for Virtual Racing Compound has gone up into 6th place as he drove past the Mercedes of Stephen Orrell on the outside, coming down towards the Tamburello chicane. And Stephen Orrell, 7th place, best of the Mercedeses, if you will. Out of the top 10, 6 of 10 of the front runners are Ferraris at the moment. 2 Mercedes in there, a single Audi, and a single Lamborghini. So a clear picture is being painted that the Ferrari is the car to beat at the moment. And it makes the job being done here at the moment by Martin de Jong all the more impressive for Holy Cow Racing, the 79 machine. Not only looking good, but it's looking good for him as well. He's certainly doing a good job of keeping Valdez Suarez at bay, although it seems to me, Edward, the gap is slowly but surely being closed in by the Brazilian here.
Yeah, definitely. Valdez Suarez, he's getting into the slipstream, using it to his advantage. We're going to have a look at the lap times when they come across the line. It has been a 43.7 from Martin de Jong, but a 43.4 from Valdez Suarez Jr. So you are bang on the money there with that assessment. Meanwhile, Emanuele Lucioli has, I think, come in and out of the pit lane and is now trying to get a clear run of things. But he has a slow car in front that he has to navigate around. That's Federico Carli there in one of the few McLarens here this evening. We're going to have a look. Where is the highest McLaren there is? Well, the man himself, isn't it? Rob the Lobster, top McLaren currently, in the pits now, I think.
Yeah,
coming in.
Coming in for a scheduled stop is Robert van der Heuvel. And see here Steven Kral ahead of Matthew Maddox. And mind you, none of these have been in for their pit stops yet. This is certainly something special to look at. And whether you like it or not, I think that's down to taste. But I'm I think what we can certainly say is there's got quite a lot of work into the design. It's very, very colorful, and it's rather reminiscent of I don't know what it even reminds me of. It's like something out of. It's like looking at It's like a glittery Magic the Gathering card. That's what it's like.
It's like I've not heard of anything like that. For me, it's like a bit of a kaleidoscope, isn't it? Where you look in and you turn it around, you see all the colours shifting and weaving around. It's certainly one thing you want to have there with the livery is to stand out and get some camera time on yourself, and certainly that's what Matthew Maddox is able to do. Meanwhile, though, Sven Dalemans is going to try and defend around the outside, but it's nothing able to be done there. Instead, let's concede the position to Niels Cornelisi, who's going to fight his way back up through the order following an unfortunate moment through the Villeneuve chicane. Meanwhile, Matthew Forrest, another driver that's going to be trying to fight up the order, and is going to have a bit of a fight now with Gaston Macaroni, or Maceroni, whichever way it is. We'll certainly get it right eventually on this stream. Getting very close onto the brakes, trying to find any way past, but there doesn't seem to be any doors being opened by Gaston Macaroni for Matthew Forrest to slip on through. So the defense is strong, and that's allowing his teammate Mariano Lazarte to clear up the road a little bit, and maybe that could be a bit of team orders going on, a bit of teamwork perhaps to get themselves over the order. Meanwhile, look at this, Valdez Suarez Jr., he's under a second behind Martin de Jong now as they go hard into the brakes. But Mariano Alta, oh, nice exit out of the curb, maybe a off track, but no slowdowns for Valdez Suarez. And look at that, Martin de Jong actually had a better run through there and has extended the gap. So as long as he gets the reversals right, he shouldn't be under pressure too much into the first corner.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, and a nice move here from Sander Kaffer.
Whoa.
And that's Sentosa up the inside of the Ferrari of Erkun Kolak. And does so cleanly and nicely. Sander Kaffer, who I read in the Discord of this series, is he said you better keep your pit speed limits in check because he works for the Dutch military police. So you better listen to what Sander says. He's a man of authority indeed, and he's done a good job today on his series debut. Although he's lost 6 places since starting, mind you, the first car to have pitted on track is Dirk Reski, who's 21st at the moment. Stephen Crowell coming in as well. Let's see where Dirk Reski comes out as well. Trigorici had an early pit stop. Jose Godinho, Robert van den Heuvel has been in. So has Emanuele Lucioli. And I'm afraid that a few of the drivers had some bad luck along the way, and that goes for Jack Werrell as well, I'm afraid. Here is Martin de Jong at the head of affairs, and that gap certainly has closed in. That's going to be an incident point, I'm afraid, there for Valdez Suarez, but it's not one to pick you up a slowdown on the exit of the chicane. And now towards the Rivazzas, you can see the Ferrari closing in, coming in towards the final 20 minutes here. They'll still both have a pit stop to do. And if you were in the shoes of Martin de Jong here, Edward, how would you play this upcoming pit stop round?
I'd try and go as long as possible, because if you come into the pits a little bit too early, you find yourself getting back market traffic sometimes. So he's going to maybe try and get himself the best chance possible of having the clear air up in front and trying to lead this race till the end. Although Valdez Suarez has been putting a lot of pressure on him recently, he's going to hope that he'll get through without making a mistake. Oh, Martin de Jong, massive hit there into the walls coming out of turn 3.
Lee Tucker with a huge incident. It's not the first time for him tonight either that that Lambo is looking worse for the wear by now. Pete Plastos in the pit as well, joining the relatively early pitters. So let's see if he will have any success with that. And just how are they going to stand compared to for the likes of Dirk Reski? We're looking at Reski here, who's gone up into 20th place. He'll be passing Cornelio, and I think he'll be passing on Pete Plastow as well in the pits. He certainly will. And that could spell good times for Dirk Reski. Started in 13th place. Oh, and someone's gone off in, I think that's in Tamburello, in the Tamburello chicane. Indeed it is. Well, there's been a problem as well for Sander Kaffa here. Let's see. And that is, funnily enough, in Villeneuve, picking off the grass. Oh, and into the soft barrier. But at that speed, it's not really soft enough to prevent damage. And poor luck, however. Let's see. Oh, Maddox and Cody Stig going at it here.
Yeah, we can see all defensive driving there from Maddox, keeping the head of Cody Stig, the Holy Cow Racing car, very close. But look at this, Matthew Maddox up 17 positions since the start of the race. The only driver that's done better is actually Gaston Bory in 20th place. So great driver from the pair of them. They kept themselves out of trouble and kept themselves up the order as well. But for how long will Matthew Maddox stay there? Because it looks to me that Cody Stig has a bit of pace on the Lamborghini up in front of him.
And we'll have to see here. We'll just have to see how it goes. We are now into the final 20 minutes of racing here. Cody Stig takes his pit stop, coming in from 12th place. It'll be interesting to see just where he can rejoin. Luke Schneider is in as well, alongside Cladera and Orkun Kolak. All of the runners in front of here have yet to pit. So it seems to be a tactic for some of the runners further down the order to take that pit stop a little bit earlier. And it looks like, at least to me, like Dirk Reski has been blessed with a lot of clean air ahead of him. And it could really be something that he could benefit of come the pit stop of everyone in front, basically. Of course, he's already taken his. The only question is if he can keep his tires alive for all 45 minutes here. Now, of course, 45 minutes very much should be possible. It's not like the tires are going to be completely worn, but if you're too aggressive, especially in a car like the BMW, if you're too aggressive on the front tires, Edward, it's really going to eat into him, isn't it?
Yeah, it really doesn't. I felt that a little bit in the race I did at Imola. It's a circuit where the track temps are actually quite hot, almost in the 40-degree range, and temperatures like that, no matter what circuit you are, you'll eat through the fronts, but especially on Imola, where it's a circuit that has so many corners quick after one another, doesn't give you any time to breathe, doesn't give the tires any time to, well, not have stresses put through them. That does wear through the tread at the front, so you need to have a bit of a managed driving style, trail the brakes into the corner and make sure you're not really soaring at the wheel, because that is how you get the tire wear in these cars on iRacing. So we see now one of the Audis going through that, I think, is Martin de Jong getting off ahead of Valdez Suarez Jr. They're racing in the pits. This is for net first place once all the pit stops have been sorted out and cleared around. Although meanwhile now, this has allowed Matthew Forrest a brief amount of time back up into the lead of the race. He's got clear air. What is he going to be able to do? Will he be able to use this clear air to his advantage and get back those places that he lost just a little bit earlier in the race, following that sort of the mini moment, I guess you could say, that he had, or maybe the bigger moment that he had into the first chicane to Tamburello?
Well, indeed, but I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to it. It's 40 seconds, and you can see the pit lane time, the collective pit lane time, pit lane loss, if you will, to be around 52 to 54, 55 seconds. Oh, Stephen Krall and Cody Stig having had issues here. The Ferrari braking a little late there, and the Mercedes being caught out by it. And they even managed to make a little bit of contact there again, trying to get off. Somebody's made contact with the outside wall there, I'm afraid, as well in the situation. Chaotic one here, Stephen Krall. Oh, and here comes Matthew Forrest into the pits. So I'm in no doubt that he's gonna be in around 4th or 5th place, maybe even 6th when coming out. We're gonna have to see here, of course. Martin de Jong Valdez Juarez is gonna clearly pass him. Lazarte is gonna come out ahead as well, I believe. And then, if it's gonna be Gaston Macaroni, Dirk Reski, Cohen Mulder, just around those cars, they might just make it. We're gonna have to see here. 15 minutes of racing left here of the opening round of the SimracerCoin Sunday GT3 Masters.
Forrest is on pit exit now. We can see the race leaders just go past. There we see Matthew Forrest exiting the pit lane. Mclaughlin not too far behind as well. So Mclaughlin actually gained a few places perhaps in all of this. Wheel-to-wheel Lazarte there gets up into third place. It was so close just before the pit phases between the pair of them. And Lazarte actually, I think, jumps himself back ahead of Matthew Forrest there. So he had to really leave it late, didn't he? He had to get on the brakes, use the advantage that he had from Matthew Forrest being slow out of the pits, of course. Difference in speed played into the hands of the virtual racing driver. Meanwhile, Martin de Jong and Valdez Suarez, the gap is starting to build once more. 2 seconds. Meanwhile, down the inside, Matthew Forrest, is he going to get the position on? Yes, he does. A little bit of door banging between the pair of them, but they kept it nice and clean, or shall we say clean enough. This is it, though. The battle is still not done because Lazarte, he's going to try and fight back going through Aqua Minerale. Not quite getting the run out of it, though, into Variante Alta there. So he's going to slot in behind and see if there's any chances, perhaps, if there's any mistakes potentially like that actually coming out of the chicane there from the driver Matthew Forrest. But there's another Matthew Maddox. What's happened here, Hasse?
It's a good question. It sounds like there's a bit of a problem with the car. It's going very slowly indeed.
Has he run out of fuel?
I think he's run out of fuel. Have you been in the pits? Oh yeah, he has indeed. Oh, Matthew Maddox. That's poor luck indeed. Poor luck. If ever I've seen it. Here's the battle for what is now third place. Matthew Forrest having gotten the better of Mariano Lazarte, and I actually have to eat my words there because it was a quick pit stop in the end from Matthew Forrest. He's back up into third place. The front runners, though, a few seconds up the road by now, and Martin de Jong has gotten a bit of advantage back on Valdez Suarez as well. It's up to around 3 seconds now, coming in towards the final 10 minutes of this race. And most pit stops have been taken care of by now. Actually, safe to say all pit stops have been taken care of by now, and it's going to be a race to the line for everyone. And here's Koen Mulder, defending champ. It's been a tough race for him, hasn't it? He's down in 8th place at the moment. And sure, I think he was wishing for something better tonight.
Yeah, definitely. He was involved in a few little incidents here and there, and it's not favoured him whatsoever. Dirk Reski, though, has really pulled off a great strategy to his benefit, and Gary Waldron has got a lot of damage, actually, on his car. As we see, oh, again, another Audi spinning around. That's Cody Stig, I think, yet again in the wars. What's happened here? Is it just a spin all by himself into the first corner? Just bounces over the anti-cuts on the second corner. And yeah, that spins him all the way around, and he has to take a little bit of time to get a retro going on. What's happening here with Matthew Forrest? Does he make a mistake here in the Ravazzi? Yes, he does. He runs a little bit wide. Is he going to get overtaken, though? No, not quite. Just a little bit of a rallycross moment in the car, but nothing too dramatic.
Oh, indeed, here I think Koen Mulder's got a good run on Dirk Reski, though, on the way down to Tamburello. He's on the inside, braking late is Koen Mulder. Oh, and he makes that stick. Beautiful move. The defending champ showing just what he's made of and gaining a place up into 7th there.
You love to see it, don't you? He jinked to the left, he jinked to the right. He managed to get it to work out. Look, so he fakes over to the right-hand side, then cuts over left. He has just about a car's width there, hard onto the brakes, gets it stopped in time. From on board like that, it makes it almost seem easy, but I can assure you it is anything but a great pass, though, from Koen Mulder there. Meanwhile, what is happening with Nick Mclaughlin?
Oh, it's Lazarte! Oh. Lazarte has had a problem. Oh, my word. And it's going to be a big loss for the Argentine. He was sitting in 4th place when this befell him.
Oh, see, he just ran a little bit too wide going out of Tosa, got onto the grass. And in these cars, if you get onto the grass, it's basically like you put T-trays underneath your wheels. You just go straight on. You've got no traction whatsoever, and you're just going straight in whatever direction you were going onto. And then is this Lasarte again having a moment, just getting a little bit too late on the brakes, running wide. That is also going to be a slowdown. Oh, there's a car spinning around. Was that the Vega Mercedes having a moment as well from Stephen Orrell?
Well, good question here, I think. Gonna check. We had a bit of a moment as well for Cohen Mulder, and it's in the very same place moments before. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Getting very twitchy indeed. And said something about Stephen Orrell, but I can't seem to really find it in the viewer. Seems.
Might not have been Stephen Orrell. That might have been another one. I'm not sure.
Could have been Federico Carli. Oh, the Italian has had a problem. The Gabbiano racing team, Mclaughlin. Beautiful machine though, good looking. Takes it on a trip to the sandy parts on the outside of the Rivazzas, but no harm done in that situation. Timo Paya has had a bit of an issue as well. Here's Stephen all on the tail of Lasarte now, trying to gain back positions. Oh, they both go sort of deep into Tosa. I think Orrell was just holding back, maybe not wanting to really try the move. And then Lasarte sort of seemed like he was expecting it. The Ferrari's losing pace here, lacking speed. Ooh. And he's getting out of the way because he knows there will be no fighting these guys anyway. So that's Orrell passed, and the BMW is a lap car behind, although it's moving at good pace. It looks to be unlapping itself. Just trying to figure out just who that is. Is that Timo Paya? No. Is that Dean Pavicic? No. Is that Lucioli? No. Who is it then? Confusing stuff. Indeed. The mystery BMW. Is it Luke Schneider? No. Oh, he's in battle here with Cladera. Very close indeed. So that's going to remain a mystery. Maybe someone can tell me just what car that was there. Oh, look at this. This is interesting, though. Matthew Forrest, Nick Mclaughlin, actually, the Canadian, catching up to the car ahead. And the two teammates for Virtual Racing Compound, though in two different cars. This might be very, very interesting. It's within the final 10 minutes of the race. It is for a, it's for a podium position, indeed. Here's Jose Godinho on the tail of Stephen Crowell. Has a bit of a moment here into the Rivazzas. And it might have opened the door for the Audi in the second part, but it isn't going to be, at least not for yet. And
we're going to see that. Oh, Stephen Crowell, is he going to be caught up, though, with the slipstream? It is quite strong here, but I don't think Jose Godinho will be able to make a move. No, he won't. In fact, it seems to me that actually the Ferrari is really using its greatest strength, which is, of course, its straight line speed. These cars are absolutely rapid on acceleration and in top end there. I think the best GT3s for it on the service. So if you want to have that stick in a Ferrari, that Nick Mclaughlin is going to try and use all of that straight line speed to his advantage. Last time around, he was about a 1/10 of a second faster than Matthew Forrest up in front. Which way will the pendulum swing, though? Is Nick Mclaughlin going to catch up even more? No, he isn't, actually. I think he was about a 10th off. So pendulum swings one way and then swings another. This time, though, in the favour of Matthew Forrest.
And that is how it is, isn't it? It goes back and forth. It's like they have strength and weaknesses at different sectors of the track. Oh, and someone's off here as well. Oh, that's Mclaughlin! Nick Mclaughlin! Just as we go away, it's the curse of Cass. I was about to say the curse of chess. Oh, Mclaughlin, a little
very
bit
well held.
Yeah, indeed, but he has more moments, I'm afraid. Or has he? Is that it? I think that was it. That was lucky. Well held as well. Could have been a lot worse in that situation. Back to that fight for 11th place here is Clader, and the AMG Mercedes coming towards the rear end of that BMW in front. That's for Holy Cow Racing. That's Luke Schneider, of course. And a good bit of deal, a good bit of pressure. Here comes the Mercedes up the inside, though. Oh, he's looking. No more than a look, though, into Tosa. I think he was wanting to send it within the 5 final minutes of this race. Now, oh, and Maddox. That's not Maddox. That's Matthew Forrest having conceded 3rd place.
So Forrest has had another incident as well, because we saw just a moment earlier, Mclaughlin, he had the moment going through Villeneuve. Oh, and he's slow coming out of the corner. So does he get a slowdown perhaps, or does he get a little bit of a tap on the anti-cuts there? We're going to try and see if we can go a little bit further back, Hasse, to find out what exactly happened to let Matthew Forrest go so slowly. So follow him. Oh, he has a spin, so he might have actually gotten over a little bit too much on the anti-cuts, on the sausage curbs on the right. Took a chunk out of them, and they took a chunk back out of it. But look, now Matthew Forrest has taken back the lead, not the lead, back the podium place. Look at that, though. He's late on the brakes. He forces Nick Mclaughlin to give him the room, and Nick Mclaughlin gives a bit too much room. Gets out off onto the anti-cuts. Look at this, though. Matthew Forrest, you can see that he's going to send it down the inside. He gets the car stopped just in time, bounces over the curbs. Then there's another bounce here from Nick Mclaughlin, who has to then concede the position after all of that fighting has been and gone.
So indeed, it's still Martin de Jong having driven a very fine race so far. He leads Valdez Suarez Jr. by 2.5 seconds at the moment. The gap looking relatively stable here. Matthew Forrest is down there with Nick Mclaughlin on the tail in that battle for 3rd place. Certainly going nowhere at the moment. And these two seems to be duking it out all the way to the line, with the one they call Gaston in 5th place at the moment. And Cohen Mulder having, you know what, it's a very fine job actually by Cohen coming back to salvage what will be 6th place here. A very Alan Prost-esque sort of a performance to claw the best back from a tough situation indeed. Dirk Reski 7th. There's Stephen Orrell, a bit of way back there in 8th place at the moment, ahead of Lasarte. And then Pete Plastow in 10th. In 10th place. I don't know if he's in a 10th place, but he's not battling anyone, so I wouldn't really imagine it. But he is indeed in 10th. A 10th place is indeed this place. The battle for 3rd with Nick Mclaughlin. He's looking left, right, and center indeed, trying to find a way through on Matthew Forrest. The Lamborghini, of course, a wide machine, especially towards the rear. Might aid the man in front here. But we've seen several changes for position as some of the back markers make sure they get out the way quickly here. And it's a fine battle indeed. And I think it's going to go all the way to the checkered flag here, Ed, with less than 2 minutes to go.
Hello, is my internet having a bit of a moment? It's been in and out, and I think it's back in just in time to see what's going to be the last couple of laps here. As you mentioned, Hasse, Nick Mclaughlin is really trying to put the pressure on Matthew Forrest. Matthew Forrest got held up a little bit, though, by the back marker BMW. Eventually gets himself out of the way there.
That was a close call indeed. Could have made all the difference. And I believe this could be the final lap, and it is. It will be the final lap. The 27th lap. Martin de Jong starts just about now. And you know what? Valdez Suarez Jr. has come back quickly here over the final couple of laps. The gap's down to 1 second. Well, I think Martin de Jong might have had a small moment. And here comes Nick Mclaughlin, the 3rd. Oh, and he makes contact. And they're both off. And it's a huge incident for both of them. And it ends in tears. For the combatants for 2nd, or for 3rd place, I'm sorry. Another look at it here. Edward, talk us through what happened.
So you can just see that Nick Mclaughlin gets far too late on the brakes, or maybe it was just a late covering move from Matthew Forrest. They both move over to the left-hand side of the circuit. It seems to me that they were just having a last little lunge and they both went the same direction. I feel like when you're going across someone in the street, they're coming the same way, they're coming the opposite way to you. You move left, they move left, you move right, they move right. Eventually, it ends in tears like it does here, and we just see Matthew Forrest gets speared up the rear from covering off the left-hand side. Absolute drama, though, isn't it, for the end of the race, because that has allowed Gaston up into the podium places now.
Indeed it has, and what's happened here to Valdir Suarez as well? He's had a problem. Oh, a spinner! Or half a spinner, indeed, enough to take him onto the grass. Enough to probably seal the deal for Martin de Jong, who's going to cruise home to a victory in the opening round of the Sunday GT3 Masters, brought to you by SimracerCoin, by Driver61, and by HM Digital indeed. Holy Cow Racing, and Martin de Jong takes the checkered flag ahead of Valdir Suarez Jr. A good opening race for the Brazilian as well, and Gaston Macaroni, he takes third and a podium spot for the Argentine, and Koen Mulder somehow in the end gets fourth place here. After an insane race indeed, it's going to be Dirk Reski home for fifth indeed. And then let's see here if Matthew Forrest can hold on for sixth in the end. He can. He's got 5 seconds down to the vegan Mercedes of Steven Orrell. We'll get 7th place in the end ahead of Mariano Lasarte. And then Nick Mclaughlin looks to be coming home for 9th indeed, but perhaps with a bit of damage as well and such. A heavy damage indeed after that huge incident.
Yeah, and I just wanted to go back to what you mentioned a little bit earlier on in the race, in those last couple of laps, is that it was a great drive, wasn't it, from reigning champion Koen Mulder, and you mentioned how it was a good defense or a good recovery drive, and I'm sure you're aware, Hasse, I'm a bit too familiar with recovery drives from my time in the BMW series. Twice in the feature races I've had to do that, so it's a big relief when you can pull it off, and I'm sure Koen Mulder is going to be very happy with a 4th position there.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed, I think once in a while you know when to be happy for a position and the points like that. And in the end of a series like this, those could be the all-deciding points having picked up there by Koen Mulder to go in and defend his championship title. Let's see if we have results to bring up on screen. Not quite, but they'll be there in a moment. There it is, Martin de Jong picking up the win for Holy Cow Racing ahead of Valdir Suarez Jr. and Gaston Macaroni. So Brazil and Argentina on the podium here at the opening round of the Sunday GT3 Masters. We got Koen Mulder 4th, Dirk Reski in 5th, Matthew Forrest 6th place in the end for Virtual Compound Racing, or Virtual Racing Compound. It is disappointing in the end for a driver who's led for so long, and from pole position as well. The vegan Mercedes of Steven Orrell gets 7th, and 8th place goes to Mariano Lasarte, 9th to Nick Mclaughlin, and 10th place to Pete Plastow, Luke Snyder 11th, and Pedro Cladera in 12th. Then Nils Cornelis, Robert van den Heuvel, and Jose Coutinho, Orkun Kolak in 16th, and Alfredo Tricorici in 17th place. Then Emanuele Lucioli coming in 18th in the end. 19th place goes to Gary Waldron, the privateer, and Cody Stig, Stephen Kral, Timo Paya, and Savino Manilo in the following places, all for Holy Cow Racing. Alessio Cornelio gets, I was about to say 96th, my eyes getting confused there for a moment. 24th place indeed for the 96 car. For the GTWR team, Gaston Bori in 25th place with John Bergen and Sander Kappa following them. Then Federico Carli 28th. 29th, Matthew Maddox losing 7 laps in the end and retiring, I'm afraid. Same goes for Timothy van der Broek, Lee Tucker, Scott Neiman, Sven Dalemans, Dirk Brinksa, Sandro Orsini, Dion Pavitic, Chris Pio, and Jack Werrell, I'm afraid, as well. And Sebastian Scandalera. So, Edward, high-paced finish indeed. And that's what we know and love. And by the way, what at least I by now had come to expect from this series. So I'm just happy not to be let down in the end.
Exactly, yeah. From the rounds that I was able to commentate last season, it's certainly led up to all of the hype that I've been getting in anticipation for getting the first round underway here at Imola. And I think, Hasse, we have a few drivers in the interview waiting room. So, shall we have a word with our race winner? In fact, I'll bring him into the booth now. And Hasse, would you like to have a word with Martin de Jong, a race winner for the first time this season in the SimracerCoin Sunday GT3 Masters League?
So I would very much love to, Martin. Congratulations on a well-deserved win, a fantastically strong and consistent drive, and a very good result to start off the season for you.
Yeah, thanks Hasse and Edward as well. I have to say it maybe looked like a walk in the park, but it really wasn't. But I'm really happy with the win. First win, and hopefully I can keep this going on, of course. But I feel a little bit sorry for Matthew. I mean, he was quick as well, but of course he made the mistake, and I almost did the same lap. So yeah.
Yeah, indeed, because looking at the qualifying pace of the drivers around you and the race pace as well, were you expecting to be able to claw them back, or were you just would you have been all right with finishing third or fourth tonight?
Well, I have to say no, but actually, yeah, of course. But already the preseason races also went very well, and yeah, I have to say. I was expecting to be fighting for top 3, so for the podium, but to win actually is new. And I was surprised that Koen and also some other guys were a little bit off pace, but I don't care. I have to win after all.
And something new for this series, we'll be having 50% of the races with free setups, 50% of the races with fixed setups. How do you think that's gonna affect the championship for you?
On the setup side, I think I'm good. Maybe some other people will have some issues with that. The baseline setup of the Audi suits me pretty well, so I'm not too afraid about that. So in the end, either way, it's fine.
That's great to hear, Martin. Thanks for coming in the booth for a bit of an interview. Congratulations on a well-deserved and very well-driven race win here in the opening round, and hope to talk to you again soon after more good races, mate. Cheers.
Yeah, me as well. Cheers, and also just a quick thanks to Robert for making the series possible again, of course.
Yeah, indeed, and I was just gonna... You preempted me on that. I was just about to ask before we let you go. Is there anyone you'd like... No, it's okay, it's okay. It just... I could have just stayed still and just pulled you out and said, oh, you already did yourself. But of course, a thanks to Robert. And should there be anyone else to thanks or give a shout out to, well, now's your time.
Well, all the guys, actually. I mean, great to have a full league again. Some nice racing. And I really hope for some good fighting this season, and hopefully I can do what Koen Mulder did last year.
We'll be crossing fingers, Martin, and with that, thanks for joining us, and best of luck to you. What they say? Veel succes, I think they say in Dutch. Isn't that so?
Yeah, that's correct. Yep, dat stimmt.
All right. Well, that was Martin de Jong, our victor for tonight. A very, very well-driven event on his side. We're going to speak to second place man, a Brazilian that knows all about being on the podium in this series. It's Valdir Soares Jr. He's going to have a word with Edward May.
Hello, Valdir. Welcome to the commentary booth. You started in second place. You finished in second place. So from the outside, it looked like a very boring race. It was anything but.
Hey guys, first of all, thank you so much. It was not a boring race at all. So I saw Martin and the first guy, I forgot his name, running the first and second place. I don't know what happened with the first guy, but I tried to catch up and keep pushing before the pit stop. I was really close to Martin, and when I come back after the pit stop, I took at least 2 laps to get the grain from my tire getting away. But it was a little bit late to catch up, and on the last lap, I almost get there, but I was facing some challenge. The car was not reacting as supposed to be, so it's a good start, and we have a huge full season in front of us right now. So let's keep pushing, and I would like to thank Robert and for putting this all together for us and for you guys to broadcast. Appreciate it.
Well, Valdir, it's been a good start for you, getting your championship up to a good start with the 2nd place. Some good points coming your way in as well.
Yeah.
You got some good points as well from qualifying. I think you got an extra couple of bonus points for that. So I think on the balance of everything coming out of this round, you might actually find yourself maybe tied on points for the lead of the race, Valdir. So good job from you, of course. And how is it like driving this Ferrari, this circuit? Because I think the time model has changed since the last season.
Yeah, so being very honest, I don't know if you guys recall, last season I have a really good start, and I won some races in the very first beginning, so the car changed a little bit. And also the second half of the season, my colleagues Cohen, Pete, and Eric, they did a very good job. They trained more than me, so they get in front of me. But now I'm keep training, keep trying to get in touch with the car, and let's see. We have some tracks that it's favored to Ferraris, but as of today, as you see, so it's straight, long straights, and it was hard to catch up with the guys on the V10s, and let's see what gonna happen next.
Well, the next round is at Zandvoort, and what is your hopes going into that one? Is that a track that you're very good at, or one that you think you might struggle a little bit more?
I'm not a local guy, so the guys from the local guys, last time that we were there, I struggle a little bit, but as just mentioned, I need to keep working hard, and let's see what's gonna be next for us. But I'm gonna keep trying pushing, keep closer to the guys.
Well, we'll let you get off and turn some practice laps to Zolder very shortly. But before we do, Valdir, is there anyone you want to give a quick shout out to here on Simracersworld TV?
Robert and all the guys, thanks to all the guys and everyone. Thank you so much.
No problem, Valdir. Great to have you in the booth, and good luck for next round.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
So that is Valdir Suarez Hasse, and I think that's all of the drivers we have had waiting for us in the interview waiting room. So I think it's time to have a little bit of a look back on what a great race it was, and then look forward to Zandvoort very shortly, in I think a couple of weeks' time.
In a couple of weeks' time, it is indeed going to be, and it's going to be great. Zandvoort is a great place for GT3 racing, and from what we've seen tonight, it's going to be all the more interesting. I love this series, always unpredictable, and I think it's an appealing one indeed, both to it would be to race in, I think, but definitely to commentate upon as well. Nice to have you joining me in the box, the booth, if you will, as well, Edward. It's truly been a pleasure, and indeed, we are looking forward to Zandvoort in, I think it's 3 weeks' time, actually.
It might be 3 weeks' time. Well, it'll feel like an absolute age, won't it, after a race like today? I say bring on the next one. I want the next one to be tomorrow. I want it to be constant racing for the next, month or so. It'll be brilliant to see, but anyway, Hasse, it has, like you mentioned, been great to be in the booth with you here at Imola, and looking forward to the next one in 3 weeks' time at Zandvoort.
Yeah, indeed. And until then, if you like what you've seen here tonight on Simracersworld TV, leave us a like. If you want to see more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon as well to stay notified of when we go live with our streams here. And with that, I think all that remains to be said from us is take care, have a good evening, and until next time here on Simracersworld TV, bye-bye.